Okay, so let's see. We got some people on the phone here. Let's do admit all. Admit all. Admit all. There we go. Admit all. Hi, everyone. Oh, it's so good to see you. It's so good to see you. Thanks so much for coming. Thanks so much for coming. This is Zenful Conversations is what we call it here. You can find us having conversations every single day in a private Facebook group for women. We're in our 5th year of daily conversations. And you can get the free Zoom link for this and information on all the other offerings because we have these Zoom conversations periodically. You just need to get the free Zoom link at zenfulconversations.com. My name is Zen Brown. I'm your host, and we're here today with guest speaker, poet Julia Fehrenbacher. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
That was beautiful. Very nice. That's exactly right.
Great.
Hi, everyone.
Great. Awesome. Awesome. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Julia. Now, Julia and I do not know each other prior to this meeting, but I got to say I really love you. I feel very, very similar in my heart as you do in yours. But so I wasn't really able to chop this down too much. This is a couple minutes of introduction, but I think it's so important to know who she is because we're going to be talking about her words and her poetry and what comes from her heart. So I just want to share a little bit what is going on. So a little bit about Julia. Julia says that over the last few decades, I have been whittling away at old, unserving thoughts and stories, doing my very best to love and accept myself so that I could show up in the world awake and in love rather than half asleep. The more I am able to love and nourish myself, the more the nourished, well-loved part of me is able to show up for my writing and creating, and for people, and for life. Doesn't it sound like this is our message? This is what we talk about so much. It is my intention and desire to be as present as here as possible. This being here is a constant practice, a practice that begins and begins again in each and every moment. And it's everything. Everything real and true is here, never there, never yesterday, never tomorrow. This is something I forget and sometimes remember every single day. I'm touched by this, actually. I'm also noticing that the better I get at loving and being true to me, the more this trueness wants and needs and can't help but speak and share. We're talking about throat chakra being open in alignment here. The words I write, the coaching I do, the classes I create and facilitate are coming from the truest place I know. One thing I know with certainty is that this world needs more people who are moving through life from a place of loving kindness and connection, being who they truly are, not who they think they should be. Julia is a poet, an author, a life coach, teacher, a regular practicer of yoga, and a sometimes painter. She's a wife to a great guy, a mom to 2 beautiful teenage girls, and they have their wonderful little dog, Lucky, and their cat, Watson. Julia grew up a military brat born in Germany and then moved from place to place most of her childhood, moved a lot in her whole life until she landed at 27 years old in Oregon, I'm not sure the pronunciation, for the first time as she knew she found home. The moss-covered trees, the wild beauty of the Oregon coast and forests, even the smell in the air, all of it whispered, welcome home. Julia, I feel like this is when I do my offerings, that is exactly how I feel. It's coming from the truest place I know. So I'm honored that you're here with us, I think I'm trying to say.
Thank you for having me. It's such an honor to be here. I've decided that being with circles of women is my absolute favorite thing. So I love it. Thank you so much. It's great to see your face.
I create lots of circles of women. That's one of my favorite things to do too. That's what I do. I create. We do workshops for women and circles, all kinds of circles for women. This is a circle for women. Yay for circles of women.
Thanks.
Julia, my gosh, you inspire me though. You inspire me. Thank you for agreeing to be with us today.
Thank you.
A little while back, I don't know, it was only a few weeks ago, wasn't it? You sent out an email. I'm on your email list. I got on her email list because I have her book, and I'm not sure how I ended up on your email list in the beginning, but I am on your email list. And I got this email, and at the end of it, it just had like a little, you were just talking, it was a little bit blurb thing. You were talking about you're leaving, you were decided to leave your career as a teacher, yes, and then step fully into this.
That's right. Yeah, I've had a long history of teaching and not teaching and teaching again, and I've been teaching now just part-time, and I have decided that I will be done with that phase and am going to just step into my writing and my writing life and my life coach life, and I'm just very, very ready. Feels like the perfect timing. So yeah, thanks for thanks for bringing that up. It gives me a chance to celebrate that. I'm really excited.
No, this is very inspiring. It is very inspiring. And since I've gotten since we made this date, I really dove into knowing your book a little bit more, and I've completely fallen in love with everything in here. Some of them I have the pleasure and honor of reading some of these in yoga class as a teacher, and it's the perfect environment for something like that. And they're powerful. I almost tear up a little bit, and actually some of the ladies that are in that class are here tonight, so they can say how touching it is. But I forget where I was going with all of that. It always happens to me. Oh, so at the very end of that email, though, you had PS. If you know of or have a mindful community or something like that, I'd love to share my poetry. And I thought, well, we're small, but we're mighty. And so
Yeah.
that's how we connected. That's
Yeah.
how we connected.
And
That's
I
how we
love that you
connected.
followed through with that. I think a lot of people think it's just maybe not a real invitation, and it really was a real invitation. So yeah, I'm glad you connected with me. It's
Oh,
just
awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Not everybody answers the emails, but that's okay. That's okay. We have a lot of fun though. These beautiful ladies are amazing. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for coming and bringing your questions. Hopefully you have some questions for Julia. What I think I'll just want to start with is I read this poem today, actually in yoga, her new story.
mm,
Her new story, page 91. That is really powerful. I love she will invite you to join her. When that line comes in, like I said, I'm reading these as a yoga instructor. And when that line comes in, all of a sudden, I feel the energy in me transform and a different personality starts to come out as I'm reading it. It's just real powerful. Is that how you feel, that poem? When you wrote it, I suppose, right?
I'm sorry, what
I'm
was
not a
the
writer.
question? What was the
Well,
question?
that's a real powerful poem without reading it through. It talks about you rising up and all that. And I'm just asking if is that a story of you, or is that just something you wrote, or is that how you felt?
I would say that I think all of it. It's
Uh-huh.
of me. And it's also an invitation to all of us, really. Um, yeah, I feel like, were you going to read the poem?
No,
No,
no.
Oh,
You can,
no.
no, you
I
can.
would be happy to read it just so that we all are on the same page and knowing
I think that would be lovely.
what we're referring to. Let's see. You said it was 91, page 91.
Page 91, her
Okay.
new story.
Yes. And what I will say too is there's a line, the second sentence says she is rising up and out of the stuckness of her yesterdays. And that line came out in one of my writing classes that I facilitate. We do free writing, which is just write as fast as you can for 10 minutes, starting with some kind of writing prompt. It's incredibly powerful. It's a beautiful circle of women that come together. And that line came out, and one of the women in the group kind of pointed that line out, and it turning into a poem. So that's often what happens with writing practice. There'll be a line here or there that will end up turning into more of a finished product. So this is called Her New Story. She is rising. She is rising up and out of the stuckness of her yesterdays. She will slip off the cloak of smallness and drape, adorn, bless, and blanket herself in her own brand of bigness. She will surrender the suffocating squeeze of conformity, the dizzying race to nowhere. She will stop waiting for someone else's hand to show her the way. Only she can know. She will stop waiting, period. She will remember that all she has been chasing rest here where feet kiss fertile ground, here where body beats and breathes and breathes and breathes. She will have the audacity to take up space, to follow the trail of her own wild longings, to be herself, all of herself, only herself. She will invite you to join her. She is rising. She is rising up and out and through the door that has always been hers to open. She will remember and remember again that she belongs to herself. She will remember that she is necessary. She will insist, she will persist, she will not take no for an answer. She will be her own guide, her own guru, with the help of her sisters, of course. She will follow her own rhythms, her own reasons. She will slip into the new, the never before. She will plant herself firmly and decidedly in her own certain skin. She will bow to the crooked, winding ways that led her from there to here. She will bow to each of her sisters, to all women and girls, to all beings everywhere. She will promise to hold her own hand forever. She will promise to hold yours too. She will listen to the wisdom of rivers and wildflowers, to the great growling hunger deep in her belly. She will listen to the silent places between then and now, between there and here, between this word and the next. She will write a new story, a story that begins and ends with love. She is rising. She is rising up and out and through the door that has always been hers to open. Dear sisters, do you hear her? Come, she calls. Let us say each other's names. Let us reimagine. Let us gather, grow, build, become. Let us become the roaring wildfire that burns the small away. Let us rise together. Together, let us rise. Most of my poems are not that long. That was a long one.
That is so powerful, though. It's so beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yes. 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 Does anybody have any questions they're itching to get out right away? Anybody have any questions? Lulu?
I do. Hi.
Hi.
I was just curious. I know that every writer has a different method, obviously, but I was just curious. Do you find it that it's easier maybe to write your poems thinking of somebody else reading them, or like Jen mentioned before, thinking of how you express, like an outlet of how you want to portray what you feel or what you think, or are you thinking of your audience, or is it a mix of both?
So I would say my focus when I write is always to write the next truest thing, like just what is true, what is true, what is true, what is more true. And so when it first comes out, that's always my intention. When I'm editing, it's like, is that true? Is there anything else that feels truer? And for me, that's everything. It's not about good. I want to throw away that word 100%. Mary Oliver says, you do not have to be good. You do not have to crawl on your knees for 1,000 miles repenting. I think when our focus is on what is true, that whole idea of trying to be good goes away. I think that everyone knows what it feels like when we try, and especially when we try to be good. So when in my writing classes, that's our focus also, is just let's throw that part away. The idea is to be free to access this voice in ourselves. And I know that the truer it feels to me, then the more universal it will feel. So I think that part just happens naturally, and it's a beautiful bonus. But if I have it too much of an audience in mind, then I find that I'm trying. That kind of brings a trying energy, and my intention is always to get fully out of my own way and just allow something bigger than myself to come through and write for me. That's really my intention when I'm writing. Just get out of the way. That little self. I refer to the little me a lot in my writing. And I refer to the bigness, which the bigness is what I'm trying to access always. And that's really what's true. So yeah, hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, it does. Basically, you're tapping into the source, as a sense.
That is it. Yes, that's the simple way to put it. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow.
For the question.
Great. Thanks for asking that, Lulu. And that's interesting. I love your answers too. Gosh, I can't get over it. Thank you, Lulu.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have any questions? Go ahead, Diane. Unmute yourself, please. There you go.
Okay. That was beautiful, Julia. Absolutely beautiful. And I'm curious as to where you were in life when you wrote that particular poem, and what your feelings were at that time in your life.
So this was written just probably about a year and a half ago. And like I said, that line, she's rising up and out of the stuckness of her yesterdays. That came out in this writing class that I facilitate. And I knew there's, as we all know, there's so much going on in the world, and there's so much that needs us to rise and to access that part of us that is source, and not the part that is wounded easily or has this ego self that wants to win or wants to be right. So we're always kind of trying to access that place, or not trying to access, but quieting the rest so that we can access that place in my writing classes. And that, I forgot what the actual prompt was that kind of initiated that line, but I knew when that came out that I needed to write this poem about rising.
So powerful. I mean, that's just, it's an invitation to others to find that in us.
Yeah,
Just
thank you, Diane. Yeah, and also I feel like that particular poem, it's been a process for so many years.
Mhm.
This rising, it's a slow process, and I've been sharing my work, my poetry online for probably 15 years now, and it's been a very, very slow process. And I felt this rising, it's kind of like a daily, a little bit more and a little bit more. And can we be
Mhm.
brave today? Can we show up and share? It's a very vulnerable thing to do, to share. And I've been working hard to shed that excess, that excess, what's in the way, what's blocking that voice from speaking. And so I feel like this poem has been trying to write itself for a very long time.
It's a beautiful, you've expressed it so beautifully and so inviting, I think, to others to
Thank you.
also rise up.
Thank you so
We
much.
each need to do that sometimes, I think.
Yes, and I believe these communities of women, it's such a beautiful place to start, or
Mhm.
yeah, just to start and to continue and to inspire each other and keep that momentum going, and then putting that out into the world.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Diane. Anybody else have anything? Go ahead, Kim.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I love your poetry. I wish I had heard of you sooner. My question is, I was interested because you were deciding to let your teaching go and move into this with both feet. And I just want to hear about that journey and that decision. And like you said, you've been having it online for like 15 years. Like, what was there something that really came about that made you just say, I'm going for it?
Ooh, you guys are awesome. Thanks for these questions. So fun to talk about. Again, this has been a long time coming. As far as the last couple of years, especially, I've been really asking, and is this the time? Is this the time? And it just hasn't been 100% yes yet. I've as far as quitting the day job and stepping fully into my writing life, I feel like, gosh, that's such a great question. What is it exactly? That I don't know that I can even or answer that, except for it just was a rightness in my bones that was like, now's the time. And I feel like a lot of times when that kind of source is speaking through you, it doesn't
Mhm.
necessarily make sense. You can't necessarily explain it, but it's just like that's deep in your bones, like now's the time. Also, this is probably part of it. I have two daughters, and one is at college. She's a junior this year, and my other daughter's graduating from high school in
Mhm.
about a week, which is going to make me cry. Um,
Mhm.
and so she's going off to college. So, it's the perfect
Mhm.
time. It's just the right time. And yeah, if that answers it, I don't know, other than just feeling a deep rightness. With both my girls, it just feels like a natural transition to step fully into what's been calling me for a really long time. And the teaching for me has been beautiful. I work at an elementary school, and I love the kids. And it's not my full passion. This has always been my full passion, to write and to work with women,
Mhm.
and to yeah. Yeah, I think that's the best way I can answer that. Thank you for
I'm
that.
sure a lot of us can understand that, you know, feeling about that there's, something else, and,
Mhm.
just being able to, tap into it and go for it. And that's
Yeah.
exciting. I'm very excited for you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, me too. Me too. It's not an easy thing to do, and it is a very vulnerable thing to do. And I'm proud of you too. I'm glad you're doing it. The way you express it, it's like it's absolutely perfect time.
Mhm.
That's so
It
cool. That's really cool.
really-
Awesome question. Thank you, Kim.
Mhm.
Does anybody else have anything they want to ask? Anything real quick? Stuff, huh? Maria?
Well, I came in late, so I don't know what you talked about before I got here. I apologize. I
That's
kept
okay.
trying to find the link. But anyway, did you talk about how long you've been writing? Did you say it's been 15 years or has it been longer than that?
I didn't, that was not the specific question. So I love that question. So I have been writing since I was tiny, little tiny, I had one of those little lock journals. I used to just carry that thing around when I was just barely writing. And honestly, as we probably most have, or many of us have had a tumultuous, kind of chaotic upbringing. I know I did. It was my refuge always. It's always been my place where I can feel safe. And as a child, I needed to write. I needed to be able to have a safe place. So I started when I was tiny, and I just always would write more journaling. And I would say probably around 8th grade is when I started writing specifically started to write poetry. So since 8th grade, and I'm 53, so it's been a long time, however many years that is. If anybody that's good at math.
And that all came from feelings and just things that were going on in daily life, and that's where the poetry comes from.
Yeah, I would say so. I think that
Okay.
I've always been extremely sensitive and someone who just feels on a really, really deep level. It had to come out somewhere. It needed to come out. And it just felt like the safe place. I don't know, at that point in my childhood, nobody wanted to hear it said. I know that. So it was like my place to be able to say it to the page. The page that always listened, and always, it's just, writing is such a beautifully therapeutic, healing, incredible thing. I love it. Even if it's never been, if it never gets out in the world, if it's never shared, just to be able to write for yourself is such a gift. Although I really encourage it to be shared, because that's such an empowering thing, even if it's just for, one other person. So, yeah.
Now, is this your first book?
This is my second book. This is
Okay.
yeah, it's my second. I wrote, my first one came out in 2012, and that one has some of my painting. It has my paintings in it as well. So many less poems. It's only, I think, 26 poems in that first book, and along with my art. And then this newest book, Staying in Love, is this one has 99 poems. So there's lots and lots of poetry in this one, and no art. So yeah, this is my second. Yeah.
I love the name of that book.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
It is loaded with, and there's not just one good poem and a bunch of not good poems. They're all amazing. It is loaded with it, for sure. I use it a lot. That's Staying in Love, poetry by Julia Fehrenbacher, that we're talking about, for those listening in. Thanks, Steph.
Sure, you're welcome.
Anybody else have anything real quick, or do you want me to go on to something else? We'll come back. There's just a lot of great poems in the book, and I know we would love to hear you read more. I have down a couple of them are really powerful, so I'm going to mention these few, and you pick what one you'd like to read.
Sure.
Overdue apology. It may not be convenient. Practicing. There is no there, and no such thing as other.
Those, I love that list, because they're totally different from the list I usually get. I love that.
They've touched me.
Jen, is there one? You go ahead and choose, really, because I'd be happy to read any.
Okay, all right. No such thing as other.
And can you tell me the page?
129, page 129.
Thank you. 129. Okay. I love that you chose this. This is never chosen. This is just
Not sure what that
one
says, but
that wasn't chosen. I love it. Okay, no such thing as other. It is a perfect evening for a walk. You and the river by my side, trees, birds, breath, sky, filling us with color and song. As we walk by the old homeless couple sitting on the riverside bench, the woman points to my sandals. With words I almost can't hear, she says, "I like your shoes." Her smile reveals only a handful of teeth, tiny, rotting apples just about to fall. The old man doesn't speak with words, but with a grin that splashes everything warmer, lighter. I want to know their story, want to know how even without beds or roofs or bank accounts or titles or stylish new sandals, they show us that come as you are is the truest meaning of beautiful. After we chat about the upcoming weekend weather, she says, "Happy Mother's Day." Words that feel more like thank you and we're in this together. We walk away with bigger hearts, doors swung open to let the other in. 4 people sharing the same breath and sky, filled full with something that feels like the truest meaning of home. I am still floating in their warmth, bowing to every mile walked in their old tired shoes, thanking them for inviting us to sit for a while by their fire, for reminding us that there is no such thing as other.
woo, baby. I'm telling you, aren't these amazing? I'm blown away by your beautiful words, Julia.
Thank you so much. And as I was reading, I felt so emotional because this little couple was the sweet, and how to capture after we walked past them, I just felt so moved and wanted so much to capture that moment. Sometimes words don't do it. It's a beautiful thing.
So you did walk by a couple?
This was a real true story. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
This was very, very
Wow.
real. Yeah. It was
I
one-
love that. It's one of my favorite ones also.
Hmm.
There's a lot of favorite ones in this book.
Hmm. Well, and Jen, I've got a couple here set aside too, and please, if you
Go
have
ahead.
you really want me to read, I have a couple brand new ones that I'd love to share that I haven't really shared in out loud in public. So this one is called One Stubborn Layer at a Time. I feel like it really speaks to everything we've been talking about here. And this is a real moment that I had a couple weeks ago. Once our weather in Oregon stopped raining and stopped being winter, the first title of this poem was "The Day It Stopped Being Winter." I ended up changing it to "One Stubborn Layer at a Time," but this was just a beautiful afternoon. Peace finds me today, meets me in the clear waters of poets' words, in the distant call of morning dove, in the bursting buds of the old mossy oak. Even the black fly is an almost welcome visitor, its relentless buzz challenging me to meet it again and again. It flies up close to my open eyes and asks, "Even this?" The young men painting the house next door play their festive music and sing and sing. They sing as if not a thing in the world hurts, as if this singing moment is guaranteed. Or maybe they sing because there is so much hurt in the world and none of it is guaranteed. I love how, for once, I feel no need to justify this not doing. Afternoons spent cradled in hammock's kind lap, pen and notebook close for when words decide to come. And when they do, I catch one at a time, like a child catching snowflakes on her tongue. I say thank you for each one. For what else but words point me back? Show me how to one stubborn layer at a time undress myself, how to dive naked into the clear waters of what is here. And I feel like that just kind of speaks to the human experience. I think it's kind of what we all want, is just to undress all this extra stuff that gets in our way and just show up for what is,
Yeah.
right here.
Does anybody else here feel that same way? I totally feel it. Totally feel it. See, we all do, so that's great.
Mm.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yes.
Did you have another? Do you want to?
I have many others, but also chime in if anyone has a question, please.
No, we'd be lovely to hear you for a couple, and then we'll ask if anybody has any questions.
Okay.
Whatever you want to share, we're delighted.
Seems that we're kind of on this this line of claiming and rising and showing up for the moment. So here's another one. This one is called Hers to Claim. Shortly after waking to this new day, I hear the words, do not refuse any part of you. Do not numb your knowing. Instead, make a nest of tenderness big enough to hold every page of you, every age of you, especially the small pigtailed one who ached and aches to be heard. Hear her now. Let her rage if she needs to. Hear her until knowing pours like spring rain, until every budding thing raises its drenched head, until every silenced thing is claimed. Thank you. In that one, I will say there was this sometimes what happens is I'll be in the shower or I'll be taking a walk and there'll be a line that comes through, and that line that came through for me on that one was, do not numb your knowing. And I just that line, whew, it was like I kind of almost meditated on it for days. Do not numb your knowing. And I really sat with, like, in what ways am I doing that? And I really realized I'm doing it in many, many ways. And sometimes it's so subtle that you can't really even see it until you really sit with it. And so sometimes it becomes more of a meditation, and then the rest of it will come through later. And that was one of those that really needed to be written. It felt like sometimes it just feels like a tremendous healing to write these poems. They've been trying to write themselves for a long, long time. And so that one was one of those that really felt that way. Also, let her rage if she needs to. I'm doing a lot of work right now with a therapist who is helping me get in touch with that part that maybe does need to rage, and not to, like, quiet ourselves down or decide that anger is not okay, but just to really allow it all to be. So that's something that I'm really working on. And I find the more love we can bring to those parts that really need to be heard, that's what they've always wanted. That's where the healing really comes. So bringing that intense, radical love to our own selves. So that's...
I do not consider myself a writer in the slightest bit. I can barely even do a journal. But you have made the your style makes your writing classes very appealing to me. And when I read up a little bit on your website, it's like you don't even have to use it. It sounds like a very cleansing, flushing experience. So it's not even about writing to become Julia Fehrenbacher. But it's not even about that really. It's more on, you're talking about, I think it's just more of a feeding yourself love or a clear, whatever needs to be done there, process. A great way to process.
Absolutely. And there's so many ways to do it, right? I mean, some people can dance and clear and have it be incredibly healing to dance, but I feel like, or sing or paint but that creative expression, that allowing yourself to express in some way feels critical to the human experience. And I can't imagine life without that. And so really, yeah, that writing is just like showing up with a pen and a piece of paper and just like seeing what's there, like listening to yourself and allowing something to speak in whatever form that wants to take. And so there's zero attention on finished product at all. It really is showing up. Like, I mean, the title of my class is Write Yourself Free. And that really is, it's just letting that part speak. And it's incredibly healing. So yeah, and with the class, we write and then we read and then we write and we read, and that sounds incredibly scary to people to read what they just wrote. But I think the thing that people find is it's so liberating, and it has nothing to do about, we're not trying to be good. We're letting it be messy. We're playing. We're having fun. We're enjoying. We're listening to each other, and sometimes the worse, the writing, the worse you think it is, the more it feels liberating to read that. Sometimes people will say, I don't have anything to say. I have nothing to say, and they'll write about the voice in their head and what that voice is saying. And just to be able to read that is so beautiful. And it just shows us how alike we all are, really, and how we all have those voices and all that stuff that is blabbing around, in our heads, but we also have that deeper self.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely interested in hearing more about that. So I'm interested in joining that kind of group. I can find that information on your website.
You can, yes. Yes, you can. There's a right now I'm taking a break. I'm about to do some summer traveling. But starting in the fall, I'm going to be starting classes back up in the fall. Yeah. But you can get
Okay, great.
it on my website. Yeah.
So yeah, please share some more.
Okay, I will. I'll since my new favorite word right now is sage, S-A-G-E. I'm loving it, that word. This poem's called The Mighty Sage, because I feel like for me, that's what I want to access, is that part. And I want to live my life from that part, not from the scared part and the part who is really critical and afraid to use my voice. I want to live from this sage. So this is called The Mighty Sage. It is not possible to keep it all. Some will be lost along the way. The road will appear, then disappear 1,000 tired times. Finally, and right on time, you will remember you were never meant for the beaten path. You will tug at countless doors. Some will swing smiling open. Others will seal themselves safely shut. And then, with delicious delight, you will remember there is no door to the open sky. What beats inside you can never be lost. When days get dark, remember the sun still pours her light. Remember, you have never needed to force the ground to hold you. Remember, songbirds do not need to be taught to sing. My darling, my love, my holy holder of light, look at yourself and marvel. Remember, there is a mighty sage inside you who has always whispered the way, who has tossed you a sky full of stars. Go now, scatter them everywhere.
Absolutely beautiful. Does anybody have any comments?
I particularly love that line about the ground to hold you. Nobody asked the ground to hold you. I think that was very good. It really resonated with me.
Mm. Yes, thank you. Kind of a
I have
relief
a
to think we can just relax into the ground. It's holding us. Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry, was somebody else about to say something?
Yeah, I did. I'm sorry. So when you're writing, and like you said, you just try to get something down on paper, is there a grammatical way that you're thinking about it? Like, oh, I need 6 words to finish the sentence, or I need, okay. So
No.
that's, I guess, my question. You know how poetry has certain types of, like a haiku and so is there something that you follow, or is there a grammatically correct or incorrect way, or it doesn't really matter?
So Stephanie, if there is, I have no idea what it is. Honestly, like it's really a funny thing, because if you were to ask me about poetry, I don't know anything. I mean, as far as those like stanzas and the lines and the, all the big words they use to describe poetry, I'm going to go ahead and say this because it's true. I don't really care about that stuff.
Okay, cool.
How does it sound and how does it feel in my body? It's really like a whole body experience for me. And there's a rhythm that I feel or I don't feel. And sometimes when I read it, especially out loud, I can hear, oh, there needs to be another word there, or something's not sounding right or feeling right in my body. But that's such a good question, because their traditional poetry is very much, I think mostly does follow rules. There's got to be a line, the second and the fourth line rhyme, or whatever those things are. But I don't do that. If I tried to do that, I would not write poetry because it would bother me.
Okay.
So I'm very much
Thank
not
you.
involved in that. Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, feel free to ask anything. Yeah, Diane. Oh, and you're muted, Diane.
There we go. Okay. At Heartwood, we sometimes after workshops will have a writing assignment, like to go out on the grounds and just write what you happen to care about that day. And I don't remember the term for it from English classes long ago, but it was like just letting your mind free and just let it all come out. And once you get started, it's so beautiful. And I see that in what you write. It's so endearing. It's so emotionally, it's raw, very raw in many ways, but it's a beautiful truth that's coming out, beautiful feelings. The end result must make you feel good once you've written it. And I'm sure for people who read it, because what Jen has read so far and what you've read is just absolutely beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And yes, so I want to tell you a little bit about, I call it free writing. I don't know.
Yes, free writing.
So I can't ever talk about writing without mentioning Natalie Goldberg. I haven't had many mentors in my life, but she has been my biggest mentor. She wrote a book called Writing Down the Bones, and it got to be it's a big book. People, you know, a lot of people know about this book. It sold, I think, millions of copies. But I very interestingly, my dad gave me that book in high school, and it's ironic because there's been a lot of difficult stuff with my dad, and then he gave me this book, and her whole approach is about getting the words out and about free writing and not worrying about the rules. Are that there are no rules, that we break open structure, that we don't try at all, that we don't worry about good. And I ended up studying for 3 summers in a row for a week at a time in Taos, New Mexico. I went and studied with Natalie, and it changed my whole life. It gave permission. One of the first things she says is, please feel free to write the worst shit. She says in America, she says America, but I say in the whole world and the whole universe, write the worst shit. And when she said that, please feel free to write the worst shit, I was like, oh, thank God, I can be like, everything made me like relaxed. It was like, there's no way, there's no rules. We can just show up. And I could finally write once she gave that kind of permission. And we were in a group of women and men. And the first time I ever read my work aloud was in one of her classes. And it was the most liberating thing I've ever done in my life. And so when I returned to Oregon, I then started facilitating my own groups and then classes. And I'm so passionate about it. I don't think I would have ever shared my work had it not been for that kind of permission. I needed it desperately, and it freed something in me that was wanting and dying to be free, really.
It shows. This is a funny connection, but are you familiar with Georgia O'Keeffe, the artist?
Yes.
Your writing to me is like her paintings. They are so touching. They're so human, and they touch so deep. And your writings are the same way. They have the same feelings.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
So much. What a beautiful, I'm going to tuck that into my heart forever.
Well,
Thank you.
oh, you're welcome.
Thank you, Diane. Maria has a question.
I have a question. If you want to, I'd like to buy some books. How do we buy books? Is it on your website? Is it Amazon? How?
So my books are on all major bookstore sites, online sites, but I would love it if you do want to buy to go directly to my Etsy shop, which is on my website. There's a link to it, and probably Jen can send that as well. I'll make sure you have.
Yeah.
Just
Absolutely.
because Amazon, first of all, I can sign it if you order directly through me. And also Amazon takes about 95%, I think, of the, not that it's not the money I'm caring about. I think people think authors make money, and we don't really. So that's not the part. But I love to feel personally connected. So when people order directly through me, it allows me to sign it to you, Maria, or to whoever orders. So yeah. So thank you. Thanks for asking. And right now I do just have my newest book in my Etsy shop. My other book, I've kind of put that one on hold for a while because this one just came out in 2021. So I'm just haven't been restocking the other one at this point. So yeah.
This one is the one though, anyway, or that I would think, because this one is just loaded with wonderful ones. And that's Staying in Love. That's really a great book. I love it. I've even made I've made Steve listen to them. You gotta listen to this, Paul.
Oh, sweet.
Do you have any others that you'd like to share, or anything you would like to share, Julia?
Oh gosh, if there's not any more questions, I could read another one.
Let's have another one, and then we'll ask if there's more questions after that.
Sure.
Thank you.
See. I feel like this is always a nice one to end on. This one's called The Cure for It All. It's a very lofty title, but there's something about claiming the title, though. It felt powerful to write that title, The Cure for It All. Go gently today. Don't hurry or think about the next thing. Walk with the quiet trees. Can you believe how brave they are? How kind? Model your life after theirs. Blow kisses at yourself in the mirror, especially when you think you've messed up. Forgive yourself for not meeting your unreasonable expectations. Praise fresh air, clean water, good dogs. Spend something from joy. Open a window, even if it's cold outside. Sit, close your eyes, breathe. Allow the river of it all to pulse through eyelashes, fingertips, bare toes. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe until you feel your bigness, until the sun rises in your veins. Breathe until you stop needing anything to be different.
Amen to that.
Yeah, please feel free if there's any last questions.
Yeah. What do you have to say, ladies? Anything that you'd like to say? What's in your heart right now?
I have a question about what you have on your wall behind you, if that's a bookshelf.
That
Oh,
is custom made by my husband. Isn't it awesome?
That caught my eye right away. And there are books on it. It's hard for, okay, there are books on it, right? And is
Yes,
there a flower at the top? It's supposed to be like a flower or
it's a tree. It's a
tree?
tree.
Okay.
It's
All
a-
right. Caught my eye right when I got on here.
One of
I
my
thought I got it.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I love it. This is actually my daughter who went to college. This is her bedroom slash now it's an office for me. So that's her tree. And we have another beautiful tree made by my husband that's just the wood is showing. You can really see the knots in the wood in our bedroom because I'm kind of in love with books and bookshelves and so yeah.
Awesome. Beautiful.
that was great question, Stephanie, because I thought I wanted to ask her that. I mean, everybody here has a relationship with books, okay? That I think we all probably like, what is that in her background?
Who do
Yeah.
you read, Julia?
What do I read?
Yeah.
Lots of poetry. Lots of poetry. I love reading novels as well. And I read a lot of books, mindfulness books, I would say,
Mhm.
slash spiritual based books. Gosh, I'm looking at my bookshelf here right now. And Brene Brown. I love Brene Brown. I love Elizabeth Gilbert. And I love like the book Braiding Sweetgrass. I don't know if you've read it. I love that
Mhm.
book. So anything with like any spiritual stories, connections, relationships, lots of writing books about writing. Yeah. And I love good fiction books too. The last book that I love that was a fictional piece was Beekeeper of Aleppo. I don't know if any of you have read that book. Oh my gosh, is that beautiful. Really beautiful book. It's very poetic. It's about this couple who is trying to escape Syria. It's moving
Sure.
and it's deep, and it's also a beautiful book. So lots of different books, but I would say I have a very huge collection of spiritual books. Yeah.
Oh, you and Jen have something in common.
A lot. Most of this poetry, I'm like, you're talking about me here. Yeah, no. Yeah, I was just wondering, like, if you were to pull one of your favorite books down from the books you were looking at right there, what one would it be?
What book would it be that I would pull down? Oh my gosh. Well, it would have to probably be uh Mary Oliver.
Ah,
Devotions. This is like a really thick, really thick book of like hand selected poems by Mary Oliver of all her like favorite, I guess you would say favorite poems
oh,
of hers. And she's incredible.
oh,
She's such an inspiration.
I see. I see. You know, one thing we didn't talk about was and I do have the book, but apparently I didn't bring it in here with me. It's in my house and I'm in my studio. But is your compilation a book? You were in another book with Mary Oliver?
Oh my gosh. Yes. So, okay. So I've got bookshelf here too, obviously. Poetry of Presence is one. Was this the one you were thinking of? So there's a Poetry of Presence 1 and 2. And then
Oh, it must be the
also
second.
have this little book, The Path to Kindness. This is James Cruz. It's an anthology.
Oh.
Both of these are anthologies of beautiful poetry. I would call them mindful poetry. The Poetry of Presence, it says an anthology of mindfulness poems. So they're very much about mindfulness. I would say both of these are. And there's a second one that just came out of the Poetry of Presence that I have a couple of poems in that one as well. But this guy, James Cruz, who puts these little anthologies together, he's incredible. If you guys like my poetry, you will definitely love his. Yeah, I've connected with poets in the last few years. I really had not connected with poets before, and finally I have connected with them, and I'm like, oh my God, no wonder I found my people. It just didn't occur to me before, like, oh, those are the people I need to be. Of course, like it took me 50 years to figure that out. I don't know why. But yes,
Okay. Every step is holy. We talk about that all the time. You know, it's we need to learn. We need to learn what we need to learn to be where we are and do what we do. And you do it so well. I love that that you put that in your email to reach out if you know anywhere just to talk. And I really appreciate that you said okay here, because it's been a real joy. Does anybody have any last questions before we go? Any kind of anything? No? Julia, do you have anything that you would like to final thoughts before I share your contact information?
just thank you so much. You guys, it's been such a gift to me to have such presence from you all, and just it's been really beautiful. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I knew it would be a lovely conversation. I really did. Julia's website is juliafehrenbacher.com. That's Julia, Julia, Fehrenbacher, F as in Frank, EHREN, B as in boy, ACHER, juliafehrenbacher.com. Take a look around her website. There's a lot to look at. There's a free ebook when you sign up for her newsletter. You can get signed. Yeah, signed copies of her book are available if you want to purchase one of those. And I think they're beautiful. Julia offers online women's series groups, and she also has a self-paced course that's entitled Breathe, which we didn't get a chance to talk about. But she'd love to stay connected with you. So juliafehrenbacher.com. We will send out all this information and more in a follow-up email, along with a replay link. That'll be tomorrow. Please visit zenfulconversations.com to sign up for more of these conversations where you get to ask the questions. Ladies, thank you so much for your support and bringing your awesome questions. You guys rock. You guys rock. Julia, in deep gratitude, Julia.
Thank you, everybody, so much.
Thanks, Julia.
Take care. Mwah.
Thanks so much. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Namaste.